Добрый день. Last summer I posted a video about how the Biden administration's incompetence had ruined foreign relations with China, Russia, and India. A little later I followed this up with 3 more videos focusing on these 3 nations individually. Well, now it is after the election, and Biden's strategy of war with Russia, intimidation of China, and insulting India has paid off, sacrificing a minimum of 150,000 Ukrainian lives in a needless war has paid off in avoiding a red wave. He got the campaign contributions from the military-industrial complex to buy the election again. But the chickens are coming home to roost, so I thought I would do an update on the situation with these 3 nations, and then move on to 3 more nations that I had not previously talked about. First, China. Sending Pelosi to Taiwan has not blown over. Xi has consolidated his power in China, and the Chinese nation remains furious with the USA. More importantly, China is actively preparing for war with the USA. They continue adding nuclear ICBMs to their arsenal. Their 3rd aircraft carrier is now complete and being armed with fighter jets and the best combat drones in the world. The pipelines that will supply Russian natural gas and oil to China are being built. Food is being stockpiled and Chinese factories are humming, producing not only consumer goods, but J-20s and missiles that will send the U.S. aircraft carriers down deep. Most importantly, China is solidifying its alliance with Russia and putting the animosity with India into the history books. Next, Russia. Russia continues to make steady progress in the war. Yes, they gave up territory near Kharkiv, and they gave up the city of Kherson, but while doing so, they killed a minimum of 20,000 Ukrainians while losing a maximum of 2,000 of their own soldiers. Their casualties in the Donbass have been higher, but the ratio of 3 Ukrainians killed for every Russian continues even as they clear fortifications west of Donetsk city. Most importantly, the mobilization of reserve Russian soldiers has been a success, and another 80,000 young Russians volunteered for the military and are being trained. Somewhere between 40,000 and 80,000 reservists are already in the Ukraine, with the remainder scheduled to complete their training updates in December. For the first time in the war, there will be an equal number of Russian and Ukrainian soldiers, instead of the Russians being outnumbered 3 to 1. But the Russian soldiers will have artillery and tanks and airplanes and modern weapons, while the Ukrainians will be 55-year-old men with only rifles and very little ammunition and no help from Europe or the United States. Continuing, Russia's economy is booming. Inflation is less than half of U.S. inflation, or European. The stores are full of things to buy. The agricultural sector has produced a record crop and there is a worldwide shortage of food. Finally, Russia has gained 10 million citizens in the newly annexed regions that were part of Ukraine, and civilians sneaking across the border from Ukraine. This exodus from Ukraine will continue as there will be jobs, money, heat, and electricity in Russia, while there will be none of these in what remains of Ukraine. Things are also going well for India. Its arch-enemy, Pakistan, is a failed state and poses no threat to anyone anymore. No one remembers when relations between India and China were better than they are now, and they get better every day. India is making a fortune buying Russian oil at a discount, moving it to a different ship, and sending it to Europe at above market prices. Finally, as Europe deindustrializes, India will get some of the jobs for their underemployed citizens. The competition from Ukraine in information technology is history, as dead young Ukrainian men are not very good at writing or supporting software. Now it's time to move on. But first, a few things about me. I just returned from a 6-week car trip through Europe, spending a minimum of a week in Spain, France, and Italy. It has been interesting and a little sad to see that France, that I thought would be the most prosperous, was not, and that the lives of ordinary people are fairly meager. It was a surprise that the nation I was most impressed with was Slovenia, and after that Hungary. It is amazing what a man can see if he looks at people and not tourist attractions. In the previous videos, I discussed my qualifications as a commentator. 6 weeks in Western Europe have reinforced this opinion that I am more qualified than any deep state politician or bureaucrat or YouTube talking head. I simply have more real data than any of them. Watching my videos is free. I don't ask for PayPal or for you to buy me coffee. But I do ask that you subscribe to me and that you like my videos. Taking money from Google while disparaging their woke ideology is kind of fun. Okay, on to the next country. It's kind of a toss-up between Saudi Arabia and Iran. They both have a lot of oil, but until the last few months, Iran has been sanctioned so badly that it can't sell their oil. Saudi Arabia has a lot of money and a real air force. Iran has a much larger and much more loyal population and a real army, and drones. Both have nothing but contempt for the crooked pedo in the White House, and both have to watch their back lest they be assassinated by the U.S. deep state or overthrown in a color revolution. Leaders of both nations have been called murderers by the senile crook responsible for killing 150,000 Ukrainians. The good thing for both nations is that MBS has moved away from the West and Saudi Arabia is no longer acting like the enemy of Iran. Another good thing for both nations is that they are both on very good terms with China, India, and Russia. Iran understands that they have nothing to lose by defying the Biden administration. Saudi Arabia understands that their oil is finite, and it makes more sense to sell a barrel of it for $100 than for $40, as Biden demands. And both understand that Putin, Modi, and Xi keep their word and do not intend to colonize the Middle East. Turkey is the odd one. It is a member of NATO, but its leader has nothing but contempt for Biden and the West. It has refused to let Sweden and Finland join NATO. It controls the only path from the Black Sea for Russian and Ukrainian exports. And it has a new trading relationship with Russia that is the only thing keeping its economy afloat. Like India, Turkey is buying Russian oil at a discount, putting a new label on it and selling it to Europe at a premium. And Russia just gave Turkey exclusive rights to sell Russian natural gas to Southern Europe, to the Balkans, and most importantly, to Italy. Oh, and Turkey has a real military and a lot of people. To summarize, all three of these nations are firmly in the Russia-China-India alliance. The leaders of all three understand that if they were not, their nations would be in serious trouble, and they would be dead men before Biden crooks off. And it is a tragedy that the leaders of Ukraine and Germany and France and other European nations did not understand that the Biden administration would betray them all.